I was still holding the appointment card for our fertility workup when Ethan slid a manila envelope across the kitchen table. His mother sat beside him, stirring cream into coffee she hadn't been invited to drink. "Your wife is Barren," Margaret said. "Stop wasting your life waiting for a miracle." It was my kitchen. My blue mug beside the sink. My raincoat on the hook. The clock read 7:14 a.m. Everything ordinary except my husband's face. "What's in the envelope?" "I filed for divorce," Ethan said. The refrigerator kicked on. That was the first sound I noticed, not my breathing, just the old fridge humming as if the morning hadn't split open. We'd been married 12 years. 3 pregnancies. 3 miscarriages. After the last, Ethan stopped touching the framed ultrasound. He slept with his back to me, worked longer hours, called it responsibility. Margaret called it reality. A year earlier, a test showed diminished ovarian reserve. Chen said it meant pregnancy could be more difficult, not impossible. By the time Margaret finished translating, diminished ovarian reserve had become, her ovaries are failing. That morning she finally used the word she'd been circling, barren. "You filed before the testing?" I asked. Ethan rubbed his face. "I've been doing this for years. You haven't even given one sample." Margaret leaned forward. "My son has delivered more babies than most people ever see. He knows his body." "That isn't how fertility testing works." "Well, something isn't working," Ethan said, "Mom." But he didn't stop her. That was Ethan's favorite protest, soft enough that Margaret never had to obey. Then the words that hurt worse than the papers. "I'm 45. I still want a family." After 12 years and 3 lost babies, he decided I did not count as family. "You already had one," I said. His mouth tightened. He'd met with a lawyer 3 weeks earlier. Transferred his paycheck. Changed auto payments, internet, utilities, insurance. He hadn't left in a rage. He'd administratively extracted me from his life, one automatic payment at a time. I didn't sign anything. I called an attorney from the parking lot of a Panera. By Friday I was in a furnished apartment, eating microwave soup from a paper bowl because I couldn't find my dishes. At work, my patient Walter, 76, recovering from a stroke, tried to stand and dropped back down. "Damn thing moved," he muttered. The chair hadn't. He studied my face. "You look worse than I walk." That's the trouble with losing your balance. Everybody tells you to stand up before they ask what knocked you down. I looked away before he could see my eyes fill. For days later, I kept the appointment with Dr. Chen. Alone. She ran one more test, then called that afternoon. "Rebecca, your pregnancy test is positive. You're close to 4 weeks." The baby had been conceived before Ethan filed. Before Margaret sat in my kitchen and reduced my body to one cruel word. The first emotion wasn't happiness, it was fear. At 43, after 3 miscarriages, good news had broken my heart before. Dr. Chen saw me the next morning. Someone turned less likely into never. "This is high risk." "And did your ex-husband ever complete his fertility evaluation?" "He never took the tests." She stared, genuinely disbelieving. "We evaluate both partners. That has always been the recommendation." Pride happened, I said. I tried drafting Ethan an email. Then his attorney messaged, "Direct all communication through counsel." Then Margaret, "Don't drag this out. Ethan deserves to build a real family." I took screenshots and forwarded everything to my lawyer. "Don't respond," Naomi said. "But eventually he'll need to know you're pregnant. I need to know this baby is okay first." At 12 weeks, Dr. Chen switched on the Doppler. Static, then a fast, steady heartbeat. I cried so hard I couldn't speak. She handed me tissues. "This little one intends to stay." Naomi sent formal notice, I was pregnant, conception predated the separation, all communication through counsel. My phone rang repeatedly. Ethan. I let every call go to voicemail. 2 weeks later, in Naomi's office, Ethan sat down looking thinner. I took the tests. Severe male factor infertility. The specialist said natural conception was unlikely. He laughed bitterly. 20 years telling patients statistics don't define individuals, then I became the statistic. You had 12 years to ask questions before deciding I was the problem. I know. No. You know now. I'm sorry. Sincere, first time. Also far too late. Then, my mother told me she spoke to someone at your clinic. Who? Cold realization. No one at that clinic would discuss my records with Margaret. She invented certainty. And you believed her without demanding proof. That hurt more than the divorce. I went into labor on a warm September evening. The closest hospital was Bluegrass Regional, where Ethan was the attending physician that night. The nurse Angela checked the computer and her face fell. Dr. Lawson's on tonight. I don't want him near me. Dr. Patel is in an emergency C-section. Another contraction stole my breath. The fetal heart rate dipped. Angela spoke quietly in the hall, need an attending. Lawson's closest. Ethan walked in wearing dark blue scrubs. He looked at the monitor, then at me. Your baby's heart rate dipped. Until Dr. Patel arrives, let me do my job. I hated needing him. For 20 minutes we fell into an old rhythm, breathing we'd practiced in childbirth classes that never ended with a baby. The memory hurt almost as much as the contractions. When Dr. Patel finally arrived, it was time. I pushed until every muscle shook. Then, a cry, sharp and strong. Angela smiled through tears. You have a son. Warm, heavy, perfect on my chest. Tiny fingers wrapped around mine. Then I saw the cleft in his chin, the shape of his ears. Recognition flickered across Ethan's face. Rebecca, is he mine? I kissed my son's head. Count backward, Ethan. Silence. His shoulders dropped. He closed his eyes, a man realizing he'd destroyed something beyond repair. I let the quiet stretch before I added, DNA test will tell you. 12 days later, probability of paternity, greater than 99.99%. I looked at my sleeping son and whispered, thank you. The following week, Ethan held him for the first time, cradling him like something priceless. I've delivered thousands of babies. This is the first time I've ever been afraid to hold one. I let him slowly become a father. But when he eventually asked if we could try again as a couple, I said no. You've become a better father. You've learned to stand up to your mother. But I deserve a partner who chooses me regardless of what my body can or can't do. He nodded, sadness, no argument. For once, just acceptance. That was the most loving thing he'd done since our wedding. Margaret asked to meet. In my lawyer's office, she looked smaller, older, leaning on a cane. She watched my sleeping son in his stroller, then said, I was terrified of being alone. So I told myself a story. That you could never give Ethan a child. And I told him that story until it became true for him. Her voice shook. I'm sorry, Rebecca. I accepted her apology. But forgiveness isn't trust. Every boundary stayed. A year later, our son took his first steps in Jacobson Park, grabbing both our hands, mine and Ethan's. For one moment we stood together, not as husband and wife, not even as friends, just two imperfect people loving the same child under a bright Kentucky sky. I thought of Walter then. He'd been right. I'd finally stopped chasing the life I'd lost. Recovery wasn't getting the old life back, it was learning that the life you have left is still worth living. I used to think revenge meant watching people suffer. But it turned out quieter, signing my own lease, building a life that no longer needed anyone else's approval. Ethan lost a marriage because he believed fear instead of truth. Margaret lost the control she thought she needed. As for me, I found something I never expected. Not victory. Freedom. Some families are built on love. Others are built on a lineage of lies. If anyone ever decides your value before truly knowing your heart, remember, another person's fear does not have to become your identity. I'm Rebecca. This is Lineage of Lies.